everyone, it's Alicia, and I'm sending you all bright, blessed, vibrant solstice energy and wishing you all a wonderfully happy midsummer if you celebrate the summer solstice and if you're up in the northern hemisphere, because today is June 20th, 2021, which is the summer solstice this year in the northern hemisphere, which is where I am. I'm in San Diego, California, and for those of you in the southern hemisphere, blessed Yule. Behind me, I'm watching the live stream of the summer solstice from Stonehenge, brought to us by English Heritage. So thank you, English Heritage, for that. I can't get to England now, obviously, but I can watch the solstice at Stonehenge with my computer because technology is awesome. Midsummer is just an amazing holiday. It is vibrant, it's sunny, it's the longest day of the year. It's a time to just re-embrace life and the sunshine, both externally and internally, especially this year, given last year was so dark in so many ways. A lot of people are still grieving what's going on because the events of last year are still going on, but thankfully there's light at the end of the tunnel now in the form of the vaccine, which I encourage you to get because science exists for a reason. We wouldn't be here where we are today without it. Science learning things and stating new claims doesn't mean that what it stated before were lies. It just means it learned something new, because that's how growing and educating oneself and the world works. Put down the tinfoil hats, put down all the conspiracy theories, go get your vaccine, and if you can't get the vaccine right now, please just continue to follow all the health guidelines. They're not that hard. Wear a mask, wash your hands, wipe down your groceries with the little sanitation wipe thingies. Just be courteous to yourself and to others. That's my little spiel on the current state of the world, but we can rejoice in that things are returning to what we once knew. Things may be different from now on, just like after any big world-changing event, but we'll find what the new normal is, and hopefully it will be a better one, and to make us all more consciously aware of each other. Because if there's anything good that came from what happened, it's that we all took time to slow down, to reevaluate, reassess our lives, and to go into the alchemist's crucible and to really strip away all the stuff that wasn't really serving us and that just was just extra stuff on top of the basics. Take the good lessons and go forth into the bright, the light of the solstice, the light of just a new beginning. Because that's what the summer solstice is about. It's about embracing that summer is fully here in all its brightness and all its blooming, its depth, its passion, its creativity, its spark of creation. There's a reason that the great rite in paganism, or that the great dance, it all comes down to creation. And yes, that includes sex. So yeah, if you're able to, go have some fun in that department. And if not, even just creativity, the act of creation, creating things just brings forth that same creative, life-sustaining energy. So with that, go bake something or draw something or write something or plant something in the garden. Just embrace the light. And with that, today's video is a special for I've just passed 150 subscribers. I cannot believe there are over 150 people watching my content. I started my first YouTube channel years ago when I just graduated high school, and that was mostly a channel of fan videos. I then decided to create this channel to start my author platform because I just wanted a fresh start, and I didn't know how this channel would be received, especially with, I'm like, this is just me talking out into the void. I don't know how this will come out. I don't know who's gonna find this channel, who will like it, and especially with me being an author, and yet a lot of my projects aren't quite ready for the world yet. My script adaptation, my play adaptation of Victor Hugo's The Man Who Laughs, I'm currently in the process of doing rewrites to that, and I'm also working on a sci-fi series with a friend of mine that is set in 1920s France, and that is in its outlining phases, so it's going to be a while before that comes out. So that's why in the meantime I started sharing my recipes as a way to give back to the creative community, because I know as an artist myself living on a budget, finding delicious recipes, healthy recipes can be sort of a challenge. So I decided to share the ones that I have to give back to the creative community in that way, and to anyone who enjoys them, but especially to artists, because the trope of the artist living on a budget and not having much to eat, that's a trope for a reason. So that's where I started sharing my recipes, and also to incorporate kitchen witchery into them because I'm an openly practicing Wiccan. But I also want to get back to sharing videos about writing and that part of the creative process. If you're a creator yourself, please feel free to leave suggestions and advice for how to maintain another platform when you yourself don't have much to show in terms of your creative projects yet, because they're still in the developmental phases. Like, what kinds of things do people talk about? I know a lot of people do lists of their top 10 books and tropes and things like that, so if you want to see that, please feel free to suggest which ones you want to see. I honestly need to get back into the habit of reading for pleasure, because I got into the habit of reading for school so much that by the time I was done reading what I needed to read for class, I was just so tired. I'm like, I just want to sit and watch TV or hang out on the computer. That's another point of improvement for myself, is to start reading for pleasure again, because there is a joy in reading for pleasure. Obviously, I wouldn't be a writer if I didn't want to also read. And so with that, this is a thank you to all my subscribers, and if you're not yet subscribed and you would like to watch videos on kitchen witchery and easy, delicious recipes and Wicca and paganism and my creative projects and writing, please feel free to subscribe and follow me on all my socials. Today's video is going to be several recipes for Midsummer, because even though today is the actual solstice, I will be celebrating tomorrow with my family. My mom and stepdad are coming over for dinner, and the main course of the meal is going to be a hot dog bar, which is self-explanatory, just hot dogs with the various toppings. But I'm also going to be making several side dishes and desserts to go with them, because that's the whole point of Midsummer, is to stuff yourself full of food. I learned that 8 years ago when I was a study abroad student in Sweden, and I happened to be there in time for Midsummer, and the day is basically just a giant picnic. You go and you pack different food, and everybody shares what they have and feasts and drinks together, and it's fantastic. And I credit that trip to Sweden as starting me on my pagan path, because visiting where my ancestors came from, participating in a ritual like Midsummer that is just so old and goes back thousands of years and celebrates such primal things as the sun and summer and the turning of the wheel of the seasons. People in the States, we need to get back to that, and that should transcend all spiritual traditions, and just being grateful for nature is something everyone should be able to enjoy. Just have a good time and just embrace that side that humanity is lost, of getting in touch with nature and the seasons and what those mean to you. Thank you to Sweden for starting me on my pagan path, and with that, I'm going to honor it by doing some kitchen witchery and whipping up some magic. And come along with me, and thank you to all my subscribers. Thank you to all my future ones. Blessed Midsummer, happy solstice, blessed be, and let's get to cooking. And here we are in my kitchen making wonderful solstice treats. And since I have 2 desserts and 2 side dishes to make for the celebration tomorrow, my strategy is to make one of each. I'm gonna make 1 side dish and 1 dessert today, and then I'll make the others tomorrow. So with that, I will show you what I've got cooking today. Here I have the stuff cooking to make German potato salad. I mean, it's called German potato salad, but it could also be considered Scandinavian because a lot of the spices are also what are used a lot in Scandinavian cooking, and I will get to what those are once the salad's ready to put together. But for now, I have some potatoes boiling in very generously salted water. That's the trick to making good mashed potatoes or pasta. You want to make sure the water you boil them in is very salty to the point where if you taste it, it should taste like the ocean. So I've got the potatoes cooking in this pot, and over here is what will essentially be the dressing. This is some sauteed onion in olive oil with a little bit of apple cider vinegar mixed in. And once the potatoes are done cooking, I will drain them and assemble them with the dressing and the rest of the salad ingredients. And here we go. In this bowl, I've got the cooked potatoes mixed with the dressing, and I've seasoned them already with salt and pepper, and have also added in some chopped green onion. So now we are going to add the spices that will give it its flavor. And I realized that in calling myself a kitchen witch, I haven't done much explaining with what herbs have what properties, so I'm gonna start doing that. So here we have some chopped dill weed, fresh chopped dill. Dill is one of my favorite herbs in the world. I just love its flavor. It's fantastic. Can't go wrong with fresh dill in a salad or over some pasta. One of my favorite dishes with dill is a Russian dish called pelmeni, which is little dumplings basically that are served in a sour cream sauce with dill. Amazing. Dill is said to protect against negative magic and to ward off nightmares. And next to it we have some ground caraway seeds. Caraway is said to promote fidelity and to protect against theft and thievery. And so basically we have 2 protective herbs here that are going to make this a very fitting salad for the summer solstice, because it's all about light and banishing negativity and letting go of things that don't serve you. So with that, in they go into the salad, and I'm going to mix them up. And while I mix it, you also want to crush the potatoes slightly, not like you're making mashed potatoes, but just enough to crush them and make it into a potato salad. And here is the salad in its intended serving container. I mixed in the dill and caraway and tasted for salt and pepper and adjusted as needed, and I'll probably do it again tomorrow just to make sure it has the same flavors after it's been in the fridge overnight. But just from my first taste, I can tell this is going to be an amazing salad and will definitely taste better tomorrow. Potato salad, no matter what kind, it always tastes better the next day. And this is wonderful. It has just a touch of the dill flavor, which is good for people who may not be as big of a fan of dill as me. You've got the dill in there and the slight sharpness from the apple cider vinegar, and yeah, this is going to be a delicious salad. So with that, I'm going to let this cool down and pop it in the fridge and clean up the kitchen, and then I'm going to go out to dinner with my family for Father's Day. We're going to go and have a little tailgate party in the parking lot of Foster's Freeze and have dinner outside that way. So happy Father's Day, because this day also happens to be Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. And once I return, I will make the second dish I have planned for today. And now I am back from going out to dinner with my family, and it was great. I got to see some of my aunts and my grandparents, and my cousin came over, and she and her husband brought their brand new little baby. They just had their first baby. He's only about a week old, and we got to see him, and he's so adorable. So it was great to welcome him into the family and to just see my other family members. And now with that and with dinner in my tummy, I'm going to make the dessert that I've planned to make tonight. This is for an olive oil cake. It looked beautiful in the pictures. It's round, it's golden like the sun, which is perfect for the summer solstice. And I actually found this recipe on an article called Dinner and a Movie that was recipes inspired by the movie Midsummer. And no, I haven't seen it because I've heard it doesn't portray pagans very nicely. I mean, that's a common thing in Hollywood, is pagans are always portrayed as evil or creepy or in a cult. At least with The Wicker Man, they had the decency to make it a musical. If you're gonna go into that, just throw us a bone. Pagans, we love our music, so if you're gonna paint us as the bad guys, can you at least give us some songs to sing? Anyway, the recipes they shared looked great, and one of them was this olive oil cake that it can be decorated with fruit or whipped cream or powdered sugar, and I've got some strawberries in the fridge I'm gonna slice up and put on top of the cake tomorrow, but for now I'm just gonna get to baking the cake. In this bowl we have some sugar and salt and baking powder and baking soda all mixed together, and now we're gonna add the wet ingredients. We've got some olive oil, some buttermilk, and I actually bought actual buttermilk, so yay, I have actual buttermilk this time. Some orange flower water, an egg, and some lemon zest. And you basically add these things into the sugar mixture and then add in the flour. And here are the wet ingredients all mixed up. They should be a smooth consistency. You should mix it until all the sugar dissolves or comes together into the other ingredients. And over here we have the flour. The original recipe calls for cake flour, but I didn't have cake flour because most of the cakes I bake use all-purpose flour, so I was like, I'm not gonna buy a whole bag of flour just for one recipe. So of course Google to the rescue, and there's a way to make cake flour out of all-purpose, because cake flour is just basically flour mixed with cornstarch. So that's what I did, and I will tell you in the description below how I basically made my own homemade cake flour. Now we're going to add the cake flour to the wet ingredients, and then the batter will be ready, and we'll pour it into this pan. This is an 8-inch round cake pan that I greased with non-stick spray and lined with a circle of parchment paper as the directions suggested. So yeah, basically mix up the batter and pour it in. And here is the batter in the cake pan, and it was a pretty cool batter in that when I poured it in, it pretty much spread itself out. I didn't even really have to level it off with the back of a spoon like I usually do with cake batter. So self-spreading cake batter, that's pretty cool. And it already looks so pretty even before it's baked. It's a light golden color, and so I can tell when it's baked it's gonna look like the sun. And I am gonna confess, I got a little bit of the batter on my finger as I was pouring it, so I licked it off to taste it, and this cake is summer as a cake. It's gonna be light golden and round like the sun at summertime. It tastes light and citrusy, and it's going to be even better once it's baked and actually has powdered sugar and fruit and stuff on top. But yeah, I can tell this recipe is going to be a keeper already. So with that, I'm going to transfer this into a 350-degree oven for 33 minutes until a toothpick inserted in the middle comes out with a few crumbs, or until the recipe says if you press your finger into the middle of the cake, it should leave a little bit of an indent, so that way you know the cake is done. And here is the cake just out of the oven. It's a lovely golden brown, and I did both the fingertip test and the toothpick test, and it's done. So now I'm going to let it sit in the pan for 10 minutes and then flip it out of the pan as the recipe says. So I'll see you back here in 10 minutes. Here is the cake out of the pan. I flipped him upside down onto the cooling rack and peeled off the parchment paper, and then I flipped him right side up onto this plate, and this is the plate I'm gonna decorate him on tomorrow morning, and then I'll transfer him onto the serving plate. But yeah, here is the olive oil cake, all baked and ready to be decorated. It's a lovely golden brown, and I cannot wait to taste this tomorrow. So with that, I will see you all tomorrow morning to finish up the rest of the goodies for the Midsummer feast. Hey guys, good morning. And so today is day 2 of making the feast I have planned for Midsummer later today. And so let's get started with the first thing I'm going to make today is another of the side dishes. It is for Swedish cabbage and apple salad. This recipe comes from the cookbook that accompanies the Kirsten series in the American Girls collection, and so this recipe is very old, sometime in the mid 1800s, 1850s I want to say, I think is when the books are set. But it's a delicious salad, it's very easy to make, and it's a great summer salad. And this has been one of my family's favorites for a couple years now. And here are the ingredients for the salad. In this bowl I have some roughly chopped cabbage. You can use half a head of cabbage or a whole, depending on whether or not you have a small head of cabbage or a larger one. I used the whole head of cabbage I had because it ended up being sort of on the small side. And in this bowl is also half a cup of raisins and 2 Granny Smith apples that I peeled and shredded on the largest holes of a box grater. And over here is the dressing, and this is a mix of heavy cream and honey. And be patient when you mix the dressing, because when you first start it seems like the honey sinks to the bottom of the bowl and it won't mix, it's stuck on the bottom. But just keep mixing, be patient, and eventually you will get this glossy, beautiful golden dressing. So now all you do is pour the dressing onto the cabbage and raisins and apples and mix it up. And here is the salad in its serving bowl. I'm going to pop this in the fridge for a few hours to let it chill. And now on to the next thing. And now for the second dessert, I'm going to be making a Swedish Rhubarb Crumble. This recipe comes from the channel Scandinavian Today, and they're a great resource for all kinds of Scandinavian recipes, not just Swedish. I'm subscribed to them and I love their channel, but they haven't really posted any new videos for a couple years, so if the hostesses of the channel find this video, hope everything is well with you and would love to see more content from you. I'm going to be making their Swedish Rhubarb Crumble. So with that, let's get started. Here I have in the baking dish the filling, the rhubarb filling, which is chopped rhubarb and sugar and cinnamon and cornstarch. And of course, all these recipes will be listed below, so you'll have the exact amounts. And over here are the ingredients for the topping. In this bowl is a mixture of butter, brown sugar, and some flour. And here are some rolled oats and cinnamon and some sliced almonds. And of course the almonds are optional, but I think in crisps to add something like that, it adds a nice crunchy texture. So now I'm gonna blend in the oats and cinnamon and almonds with the brown sugar butter mixture and then crumble it on top of the rhubarb. And here is the rhubarb with the topping on top. I'll be honest, I'm not sure if I'm making this in the right pan. The written recipe in the description of the video said to use an 8x8 pan, So that's what I'm going to use, and maybe the topping will shrink down once it bakes, but we'll see how this turns out. So with that, I'm going to transfer this into the center of a 375-degree oven for 30 minutes, or until the rhubarb filling is bubbly underneath and the topping is golden brown. And here are the desserts finished. The cake I decorated with powdered sugar and sliced strawberries, and the crisp, well, it didn't need any decorating except for that cute little Swedish flag toothpick. I got those on Amazon. And here is a crisp bread board that I made. The crisp bread I got at IKEA, the multigrain one. And then we've got some sliced cheese and cucumber and sliced hard-boiled eggs and sliced apples. So yeah, this is gonna be part of our midsummer feast. And with that, I'm going to go enjoy myself. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And I will see you all in the next video, and blessed be. Hey guys, editing Alicia here, and I just want to say I now have a new social. I made the leap, and I'm on TikTok. So the link to that will be in the description below, along with all my other socials. So if you're so inclined, feel free to follow me there, and love to see you there. Cheers, blessed be.